Hi, my name is Teresa Richards and I am a mindset and productivity coach for perfectionists. I'm the host of the Valued Life podcast, where I help you conquer your fear of failure, stop procrastinating, and create mindful productivity systems so that you can achieve more in less time without stressing out. I'm so happy you're here. So let's jump right into the episode. So today's episode is all about motivation, encouragement, inspiration, just sort of like giving you that kick up the backside that you might need if you're feeling a bit stuck in life right now. So the episode's called It's Not Too Late to Be the Person You've Always Wanted to Be. And I feel like that messaging is so key for my audience because I know a lot of you are perfectionists. Like, you've done the right things, you climbed up the career ladder, you did it all, only to realize that it's not really in alignment with your values. You feel burnt out and overworked and tired, and you don't know what to do. You're like, I thought I wanted this, but now I'm not quite sure. And then you just start to have like an existential crisis because you're like, who am I? Who am I if I don't if I'm not my job? Who am I if I'm not my achievements? What do I do? Like, how do I start? And I know that so many people go through that. So this is why this episode is specifically for you. So many of us get stuck in old stories and old narratives and like develop limiting beliefs about the version of us that we are. We think, oh, just because when I was in school and I was shy and I was bullied, that I'm going to be shy in the future and that people are going to bully me in the future, or people are always going to have bad things to say about me. You start to sort of like translate these stories in the past into things that will predict your future. And it's not correct. I've heard stories of people like getting bad grades at school, and then because now they have had bad grades at school, they don't believe that they're smart. And it's like, no, that's just a story you're telling yourself, and now you restrict yourself because you genuinely don't believe there's a possibility where you're smart enough to do the things that you want to do. And I feel like the key when it comes to healing perfectionism, which is basically what I coach my clients on, you have to become self-aware. You have to first of all like identify these limiting stories, these old beliefs, and then make those changes. Because you can't change if you don't know what you need to change in the first place. So this is why this episode has been created, because I want to inspire you to like look inside your mind, like see what's going on, see what limiting beliefs and old stories come up for you, and then decide to choose a different path. Because trust me, like life is so beautiful and our past doesn't define our future. Life is for living. We could have many lives in one lifetime, which is, I just think it's so amazing. Like, it literally blows my mind when I think about it. Like, just because I'm doing a job for 5 years doesn't mean I need to do it for the next 5 years. I could literally pivot and do something completely different and learn new skills and experience new things, meet new people. Isn't that just such a beautiful thing? Because I feel like sometimes we get stuck and like, oh God, life is hard. And yeah, it is hard. But we could do so much more. And I really want to encourage you to like think outside the box and start to like actually think about the life you want to live, and then take at least one small step closer towards it. Because at the end of the day, we are constantly evolving and growing and developing. It'd be a shame to think that we were stuck in a version of ourselves from the past. I feel like there's this one quote that really stuck with me when I was younger, like back in my Tumblr days. I don't know who it was by, but it was basically said, you're allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Isn't that amazing? So just because maybe right now you're feeling a bit stuck, a bit helpless, a bit confused, and you don't know where you're going, it doesn't mean that you're a complete failure or anything. It doesn't mean you're a failure at all, first of all. It just means in this moment in your life, you're just a bit stuck and you just need some guidance. And it doesn't erase all of the amazing things you've done in your life. Let's celebrate those achievements. And yeah, and you're allowed to like not know what's going on, and you're allowed to be a work in progress, because let's be real, healing never ends. It's a lifelong journey. And that's why you can be a masterpiece and work in progress at the same time. But either way, this episode is all about personal growth, mindset shifts, encouragement, and just being human. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a perfectionist of some kind, or maybe you're like a high achiever, or you're someone who feels really burnt out. But I'm going to just touch base on the struggles of being a perfectionist, because there are struggles. And you would know that really well if you've gone through them. And like the main struggle of perfectionism is the fact that so many of us have this limiting belief of not being good enough. So no matter what we do, no matter how many tasks we tick off, no matter how many achievements, certificates, I don't know, grades, promotions and things we get, we still just don't feel good enough. Like we're always like looking to the future and looking to the next thing we need to do, and all of the obstacles that are so far ahead. It is draining, and it is something that really fuels our perfectionism, I think, because you never feel good enough. So even when you're working on a task, it never feels good enough to submit, to send, or to share with others. And then when it's done and you get like your accolades and you get your promotion and you get people talking about it, you still don't feel good enough because you're like, oh, but I could have done this. And then you're worrying about the other things. It's draining, it's exhausting. And, you know, I really want us to like not do that. And I know it's easier said than done. So we will talk about this in this episode and in following episodes. There'll be so many episodes on the limiting belief of not feeling good enough. So don't worry, I got you. But another thing that we tend to struggle with is just going through the cycles of go, go, go and then burnout, which again is fueled by a feeling of not being good enough. So many perfectionists are people that sign up to like everything. They sign up to all the courses, they sign up to all the fitness classes, they sign up to the development programs and all these extra things and extracurricular and hanging out with this friend and going to this place here and all that stuff. And they might be good at it for like a short while. You know, they might be on fire. Like when they're at work, they're the person. They've got all the assignment, they got all the projects, they're juggling everything. Life is great. You know, they're the go-to person, they're their manager's favourite. But then it's not sustainable. And you'll probably realise this if you've gone through this as a perfectionist. You know it's not sustainable. Like maybe at the time you think, I got this time it'll be different. But then you will crash and you will burn. And then you'll feel bad because your limiting belief of not being good enough will kick in like full steam ahead. And then you'll be like, oh, I wish I could be doing this. In the past, I could have juggled all these tasks and done this workload and I could have done it. But like now I'm so tired and burnt out. There must be something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. And you just go through these cycles. Perfectionism is tough. You know, it is a struggle. Your mind feels like it's playing tricks on you, you know, because you're just like, man, if only I could do this. And it's just not realistic. Like any non-perfectionist high achiever would be able to look at the tasks and be like, yeah, no, I can't do all of that. I can do this, this and this. And then they would be able to do it consistently, but not perfectionists. We will push ourselves until we burn out. And it's exhausting. And I'm not going to lie, I used to be the same. I used to be an extreme perfectionist. I didn't know I was a perfectionist for so many years. But I would push myself, like go, 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 like doing all the work, doing the absolute most. And then I would burn out. And I'd crash and I'd burn. And I always felt like a fraud. Like no matter what I did, I felt like a fraud. Because I remember people seeing me and being like, wow, Teresa, you're so put together. Like, how do you do it? Like, I'd be there with my little bullet journal and my planners and my organization system and working all this stuff and being here, there and everywhere, going to the gym, doing work, working on projects. I was a project manager and I'd like, you know, doing fitness exercises and, you know, doing all these other things like random activities, reading. Like I would do the most. I'd be the star person and people would always praise me for like being so organized and like being that girl. And then I would literally just be like, oh no, it's fake. I'm not actually like this. And then people wouldn't believe me until like you catch me 6 weeks later when everything I was doing was just unsustainable and I just crashed and burned and I could barely get out of bed, and then I'm procrastinating and I'm feeling like crap because my deadlines and everything that I signed up to 6 weeks before is all of a sudden it's kind of the deadlines are hitting, and then it just triggers my limiting belief of not being good enough. It is a never-ending cycle. And I just remember one day being like, I can't continue living like this. Like this, like something has to change. Like, genuinely, like, there is a full stop. Like, I cannot continue living like this. And like, living like this is the only way I've known how to live. So I have to do something completely different. I actually have to be someone I've never been before. And you know how scary that is? But at some point, with your perfectionism, you will realize that it's not sustainable. You will reach a point where you're like, I have to try something new. And I reached that point a few years ago. I was like, I will do whatever it takes. I will research. I will go on a healing journey. I will do whatever it takes to make sure I do not continue this pattern. And it was the best thing I've ever done for myself, just for my life, for my well-being, my health, my productivity even. Like, it's so crazy. Like, you'd think just completely doing a mindset shift from like being the person that does everything to like changing completely, you'd think I'd be less productive. But now my time is worth so much more because I do what I say I'm going to do. Like, I don't burn out, I'm consistent. And in the long run, I just achieve way more than what I would have done when I was going through my cycles of go, and burn out. So perfectionists seem to have this like myth or this idea in their mind that there's only one way to live their life. You know, so maybe it was programmed in them from when they were children. Maybe it's from their parents, or maybe it's from the education system. And in my case, it was from the education system. But I know for most people, it stems from their parents. But a lot of us, we're told in some way that there's one way to live your life. You know, you need to get good grades, you need to go to university, you need to get yourself the best paying job you can, you need to climb up the career ladder, you need to put work before everything, and you need to be that person. You need to drive, you need to be that corporate person climbing up the career ladder, and that's the only way to be successful. And then once you've made it to the top, then you'll finally be happy because you'll have the money to do the things you want to do. You'll be able to go on the holidays and buy the fancy cars and do all the fun things. So it's all worth it in the end. Like, that is success. And then you kind of like might realize that is not actually the case. And then that's where the existential crisis comes in. And also from this process of having this belief, which a lot of perfectionists have, you end up tying your self-worth to your output, to your achievements and what you do, and your job title, and the university that you went to, and all these other status symbols, because you kind of forget that who you are without these things. So you label yourself these things as a way to define who you are, because you can't even think of a possibility of just being worthy just for existing, you know, because you just never feel good enough, because you're always trying to prove yourself. And when you prove yourself, it means you don't think you're worthy. And it's just an exhausting cycle, which is why I literally have dedicated my life from this point onwards to help perfectionists untangle their self-worth from their achievements, because it is never ending. And I want you to get the most out of life, you know, because you don't want to waste any more years of your life having that equation in your mind, because it's a false equation. So now you're probably just wondering, like, okay, yeah, I get it. I have these limiting beliefs. I am a perfectionist. I know the struggle. Like, yes. You're telling me something that I already know. You're like, how do I actually change? And the truth is, I mentioned this earlier, but it's quite simple. Like, in the simplest form, you have to decide to change. You actually have to reach the point where you decide you want to change. And you decide to do something differently. It's literally as simple as that. And you're probably, like, I know a lot of people just think, well, duh, like, of course I want to change. But, like, do you really want to change? Because I've come across people who say they want to change, but they actually don't. Like, they want someone to validate their experience and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm so sorry you're going through this. And they want to complain and they want to be the victim, but they don't want to change. You know, so if you actually want to change your life and be the person that you want to be, you have to decide you're going to do something different. You have to decide to change your mindset. Like, you have to be like, okay, the old way of doing things was not working for me. So the only way for me to live the life that I want, I actually have to do something and become someone I have never been before. And I'm not going to lie to you, it is scary. It is so scary thinking like that. But that's the only way you're actually going to change your life. You know, and it feels so blunt, me saying this, but it's just so true, because so many people will come with excuses on why they can't do these things, and they don't actually want to change. You know, and I want you to change, but I do know reaching the point to want to change your life is a process. So it might be from listening to podcasts, it might be from reading books, it might be from speaking to people, it might be from, you know, seeing how other people are living the life that they want, like having that sort of mindset shift. Like, you know, that might come gradually, but when you actually decide to do something differently, that is when you change your life. For example, when I work with clients, I'm quite specific with who I work with, because I don't want to waste their time and I don't want to waste my time. And I don't want them to waste their money on a service if I don't feel like I can help them. You know, integrity is really important for me. And sometimes there are clients and they're just not ready to change. Like, they are in the mindset where they're kind of stuck, but they're stuck being the victim. And they kind of want to stay being the victim for a little while. They want to wallow in that. And you know what? That's okay. You're entitled to wallow in, like, feeling like the victim, in feeling like, man, like, I feel like I've wasted my life. You're allowed to wallow in that, you know, but when you're ready to change, that's when the magic happens. And I remember when I first realized it, like, when I realized that I did everything I wanted to do, like, by all means, I was successful. And then I remember thinking, I feel so depressed and down. Like, I can't, like, what is this success? And I remember just having a complete, like, existential crisis. Like, I've been lied to. You know, this isn't success. I'm trapped. This is not what I wanted. I thought I was going to be happy, but I'm not. And I just remember completely just, like, wallowing in self-pity for a little bit. And at that moment in time, right then, when I was deep in that emotion, coaching didn't really help. Like, I had mentors at the time, and there were some mentors that took on a much more proactive coaching role, but where I was mentally in my headspace, I couldn't engage with that because I just wanted to be sad. You know, I just was so overwhelmed that I just needed to just get out of that state of overwhelm before I could focus on actually deciding to choose differently. You know, because when you're in it, sometimes you're like, I don't know what to do. And you just want to panic. But it's just like, no. Like, once I had a moment to just actually pause, sit back and think, okay, I've assessed the situation and now I realize that I want to do something differently. That's when things started the ball started rolling. But until then, I didn't even move forward. I was just, like, standing there like, oh my God, what do I do? And that's why, like, I really want my clients, like, when they come to me, I want them to be in a headspace where, like, you know, they might not have a plan, but I want them to have at least the idea that they want to change. Like, I want them to say, I want to change. I want to do something differently, you know, and then I can work with you, because when you're ready and you want to change, the magic is so beautiful. I love seeing the growth, but you have to be ready. And not everybody is. And that's okay. And, like, you have to work with people with where they are. You know, and if a client isn't necessarily ready to, like, do my full 12-week program, like, I do have, like, one-off sessions just where we can sort of slowly start the mindset shifting process and have that safe space for change. But, like, if you want to join the program, you got to be in the headspace to be like, I'm going to do something differently. That means thinking differently. That means challenging your limiting beliefs. It means communicating in ways that you've maybe never communicated. It means actually taking the time to put yourself first and schedule self-care, rather than just saying, oh yeah, no, I know self-care is important, but it means, like, no. If you want to change, you need to do self-care. Like, you actually need to prioritize that over other things. And when you spent your whole life prioritizing everyone else, prioritizing your career, prioritizing deadlines and other things outside of yourself, it's going to feel so foreign to decide to change, like to make that change, sorry. But you will do it because you know that what you did before wasn't working. You know, and that's kind of where I want you to be. I want you to be like, yeah, okay, I would do it. It feels foreign to me, but I'm going to do it because I want to live a different life. I want to be the person I've always wanted to be. And that means I have to let go of old stories and old things and old habits that I used to do. Once you do these things and you decide to change and you take those steps, like building in self-care, energy management, challenging your limiting beliefs, identifying your needs, communicating, setting boundaries, setting up consistent habits and things like that. Once you do these things, you'll be surprised how quickly you rebuild the relationship with yourself. All of a sudden, you feel like you can trust yourself again. So when you sign up to these new courses and extracurriculars and things like that, you know that you have the capacity to do it. Like, you trust yourself. You're like, oh, actually, yeah, I have capacity for this, but I don't have capacity for that. Like, you have that trust. You learn to love yourself again. Like, falling in love with yourself is such a beautiful, calming, it's like a grounding experience. And I wish that for all my clients. You start to feel safe with yourself and have that deeper connection. It's just you and you, if that makes sense. And it's so beautiful. I love to see it. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person you're going to be with your whole life. So from the moment you're born to the moment you die, it's just you. It's you and you, And when you nurture that relationship with yourself, you trust yourself, you love yourself, you feel safe with yourself. No one could take that away from you. Because you will do whatever it takes to protect that connection and that relationship. Because you know it will help you grow and develop into the person that you want to be and achieve the things you want to achieve and have the relationships that you want to have. Like, it is such a beautiful thing. And that's why I really prioritize it in my course and with my perfectionist clients, because we tend to neglect ourselves. And I don't want that for you. And I guess the next point I want to say is, if you're feeling a bit stuck on where to start, so you've decided you want to change, you're ready to change, you want to do things differently, but you're like, where do I even begin? You feel like your whole life's a mess. What I like to do is start with the 8 areas of your life and then sort of work through each section. So decide what's working well, what's not working well, what would you like to change, how would you like to feel in this area of your life, and then just sort of go through it bit by bit. So the 8 areas that I like to categorize my life in is personal and spiritual development and growth. So whether you're religious or not, but having some form of connection with yourself and opportunity to learn and grow and, personal development, that sort of thing, as well as health and fitness, friends and family, romantic relationships, career and business, finances, fun and recreation, and then your physical environment. But I like to call it home organisation because it just sounds a bit nicer. Physical environment just seems so clinical. But it's all important. All these different 8 areas of your life are so important when it comes to mapping out your future. Because if you don't have a clear idea about the type of person you want to be and the type of life you want to live, you'll just stay stuck. You'll keep repeating the same cycles because you don't know where you're going, which is why it's so important to just do a little audit of your life and say, okay, what's working, what's not, what can I change, how can I move forward? And then once you have a clear idea, or at least a few bullet points for each of those different 8 areas, then you can kind of start your growth journey there. And then the next thing I would suggest is identifying your values. So now you know kind of what's not going well in your life and what you want to change. So then you need to kind of actually look at your values and ask yourself these deep questions like, who do I want to be? What is important to me? What traits and characteristics do I admire in other people? For example, if you admire kindness in other people, and you really want to be a kind person, then you say, okay, kindness is a core value of mine. It's something that is really important to me. or integrity, or you like adventure. Like, you're basically just doing an audit. And if you get my free workbook at thevaluedlife.co.uk/free workbook, it has all these different journal prompts which will help you identify your values and kickstart your healing journey. But once you have your values and you've done your audit of your 8 areas of your life, then you can basically move forward. Like, I would recommend the next stage being visualization. You know, like, let's not neglect or underestimate the power of the subconscious mind. You know, like, I found doing these different visualization exercises really helpful. So once you know what your values are, your 8 areas of life, I want you to record yourself talking about it. So start with your 8 areas of your life. Like, describe what you see, what you hear, what you feel in each area, whether it's health and fitness or romantic relationships or friends and family. Like, describe the connections that you'll have with others. Describe how you'll feel when you wake up in the morning. Describe like your ideal day, and add as much detail as possible, because when you record it and then you listen to yourself hearing all these things, like, it is such a powerful thing, because you're hearing your own voice describing how you want to live your life. And when you start to lose motivation, you can listen to it again and again and again and again until you start to train your mind to believe it's possible, you know. And then mix in your values as well. Like, say, and how I show up in the world is I show up as a kind person. I show up in the world as someone with integrity. Things like that. Like, build those things into your descriptions and your visualization. And I'm telling you, it is such a powerful thing. And then you can start to figure out the things in your life that aren't actually important, that aren't actually bringing you closer to this goal. Because then the next stage is simplifying your life, removing distractions and focusing on one thing at a time, bit by bit. And, you know, because change doesn't happen all at once. Change happens in little increments. But when you have a clear vision, it makes it so much easier to become the person that you want to be. And the more you simplify your life and focus only on your one goal and your vision and your values, the easier it will be to actually become the person you want to be. And then when you break down your goals and you start working towards it, like, bit by bit, because I know perfectionists, I know you want everything to be perfect, but I'm here to tell you, start small, start scrappy. Change in your life is a process. You just have to start. That's the one thing. You know, even if it's just putting a timer on for 5 minutes and then just saying, I'm going to just do 5 minutes towards my goal, whether it's just 5 minutes clearing out your inbox so that you can focus on the key things, or 5 minutes unsubscribing from email newsletters that aren't relevant to your life, that aren't helping you, just marketing emails and things like that. It's 5-minute task, but at least it takes you one step closer. Like, you feel less overwhelmed, your mind is a lot clearer, things like that. And the more you do these little things, the more you break down your tasks and then just chip away at it slowly but surely, whether it's 5 minutes of reading, things like that, you'll start to build trust in yourself, because you're like, okay, I said I was going to do 5 minutes of this, and then I did 5 minutes of this, and then I did that yesterday, and I did that the day before, and the day before. So now I can trust myself to do the things that I say I'm going to do. And then you can slowly build up to like bigger tasks. And then eventually you'll just be the person that you want to be. You know, like, the only way to become the person that you want to become is to be that person now. That's how you get there. You don't become your dream person by doing the same things that you're doing now, because then you'll just stay being you and the version of you that you are right now that's unhappy. So the only way to live your dream life is to start doing the things that person would be doing. So, like, wake up in the morning. That's why it's so important to start with your visualization exercise and listen to that, because then you think, okay, the person who has the things that I want, what do they do when they wake up in the morning? How do they show up in the world? Okay, so I'm going to just show up in the world as that person now. And then eventually it will feel much more natural for you to show up in the world as that person. And then you'll just be that person. Like, I remember thinking, I would never be the sort of person that can make friends. Like, I was like, oh, I'm an introvert. I am still an introvert, by the way. But, like, I'm an introvert and I don't make friends. I'm, like, really socially awkward. I had all these negative limiting beliefs. And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I didn't go out. I didn't really socialise. I didn't talk to people, because I believed I was an unsociable person. But then when I did this exercise and I was like, actually, no, I'm someone who goes places and makes friends and has good people around me. And I thought, okay, how does this person show up in the world? So they go to events, they speak to strangers, they are funny, they are friendly, they are light-hearted, they make plans. And then even though I felt uncomfortable doing it, I just started doing it because I wanted to be that person. And I showed up in the world as that person. And then before you know it, I became that person. Now, most of the time when I go out to events and stuff, I make at least one connection and then build on that and eventually become friends with these people. Like, I've made so many friends in the last 6 months just by being the person that had the things already. So I really want to say, like, just really promote the power of choosing to act differently. Like, it has to be a choice that you make. Like, if you want to change your life, and it's never too late to change your life. I remember this Maya Angelou quote saying, life began at 50. You know, like, there's still so much life to live. No matter how old you are, you can live your best life. You can change anytime. We're like, how many months into the year? We're like nearly 6 months into the year. Just because the first half of the year has gone one way doesn't mean the second half has to go the same way. Like, you can decide to do something different. And finally, if you're feeling a little bit stuck and you're like, okay, look, I know I need to do these things. I know I need to identify my values. I know I have to make the decision to do something differently. I know I need to audit my life, and I just don't even like that. Even that alone is overwhelming. I have so many blog posts talking about this as well, so check out my website. But if you're still feeling stuck, then I offer coaching services one-on-one. So I have my 12-week coaching program, Overwhelmed to Empowered, which is very detailed. You have so many workbooks and guided visualizations and different activities as well to help you. Like, it's a really comprehensive program which will get you from point A to point B, you know. But if you're just like, you don't want to commit to a full 12-week program, I do offer one-off services where it's fully tailor-made, and I'll work with you on a week-by-week basis, and we'll get you to the point where you need to be so that you can join the online coaching program and have that comprehensive, structured support in untangling your self-worth from your achievements and actually living the life of your dreams. And if it's even deeper than that, if you thought about it and you're like, actually, I have some deep-seated trauma that is deeper than coaching, then I highly recommend you speak to a therapist. There are so many good therapists out there. You do not have to feel trapped in this life. Like, you can make choices. You can do things differently. There are so many ways and supportive ways, free resources like podcasts and blog posts and worksheets and YouTube videos. There's so much out there. So yeah, this is a slightly different podcast episode. Let me know if you found this helpful. And, you know, as I said, remember, like, life is for living. This is your one life. So it's not too late to change. You could be in your 70s. If you want to do something differently, do something differently. Seriously, don't ever feel like you're too old to do something. You know, like, I started learning how to dance like a couple months ago. And I took up music theory a year ago. And now I'm about to sit my grade 3 music theory exam. I had no business doing music theory. Like, I don't plan on being a composer or anything. It's just for fun, you know. So there is no limit in how you can live your life. So I just want this to be a bit of encouragement to help you move forward. And yeah, so as I said, remember, life is for living, and I hope you have a lovely day.